What's up guys, hello to Football Talk here, back for the second straight week on YouTube for one of these short style videos where I want to highlight some of the best plays from this previous slate of games. I focused on quarterbacks last week, so now let's flip sides of the ball and talk about some of the top defensive moments we just got to watch, which I realized later on feels kinda sacrilegious in a week where the Vikings were on bye, with all the cool shit Brian Flores has thrown out there this year already, but that gives the rest of the league a chance to get some screen time here. Generally, these are supposed to shine light on the units as a whole, talking about how multiple pieces had to do their job correctly in order to execute the play call and the assignments in order to win those downs, whether it led to sacks, turnovers or key stops. I did throw in one more so individual showcase because of how brilliant it truly was, and we actually started with one other play as kind of an honorable mention here to highlight the insanity of that moment. Just real quick, if you enjoy what you're watching, I'd love to have you along for the ride as a subscriber, and maybe if you hit the like button for me, that would be great. But now let's get to that one bonus play I just referenced, which technically came on special teams in the Browns and Eagles game as part of the field goal block team, but you can kinda count it as the way the defense finished that drive, and it once again proves what a ridiculous athlete Myles Garrett truly is, who is over here on the right side of the ball, number 95. Check out how he goes directly out of his stance to using that 41-inch vertical to fully clear the long snapper in order to avoid a penalty, get that one big paw up to block the kick. Rodney McLeod picks up the ball and takes it back to the house for Cleveland's only touchdown of the day in really what otherwise felt like a miserable game between those two sides. Now, these first two plays I'll actually break down here look kinda similar, and they both came by the losing teams actually. We start on Thursday night with the 49ers facing a 3rd and 4. Mike McDonald for Seattle calls up one of his specials and what functions as cover 0, but they also muddy up the middle of the field for quarterback Brock Purdy, who gets flushed to his left and then has to throw the ball away. Let's quickly show what San Francisco is running. They start in this sort of bunch set to the wide side of the field as they motion Deebo Samuel out wide and then bring him back all the way to the inside as the de facto number 3. The X is pretty much just running off coverage with the fade against off coverage, while they have those two in cuts to the field and George Kittle as the tip man, threatening as if he's running a corner route, only to pivot back towards the middle of the field late, once the coverage is cleared out if the Hawks do run zone. Like I said for Seattle, it plays out as cover 0, but instead of chasing the man, the 3 DBs to the field just bump over by one guy, and last year in Baltimore we saw some match characteristics on top of that, where they'd still adjust post-snap in case of switch releases. Either way, they man up those 4 receivers and show 7-man pressure, which they end up bringing 5 and dropping out those 2 D tackles that are lined up into the boundary, just using them as big bodies in those hook zones to muddy up the look. So now the quarterback doesn't feel comfortable pulling the trigger, hitting one of these in-cuts here. The Niners do have 6 in protection, but with them being a half-line slide to the left, it leaves 4 and 3 the other way. Kyle Juszczyk as the back here takes the most imminent threat inside, leaving number 2 Rayshon Jenkins unblocked off the edge. Boy Mafia of the opposite end actually allows Purdy to get outside of him, which he shouldn't do, but the pursuit gets to him as the DBs stay plastered, and Purdy has to throw it out of bounds. Watch it again from the end zone view as we have that half-line slide towards the 3 actual D linemen, which should be more likely to rush here than those 2 linebackers mucked up in the A and B gap respectively, but Seattle kind of flips those 2 usual distributions of assignments, giving them a +1 the other way with Jenkins, and they completely throw off the play with Jenkins coming through unblocked, allowing them to get off the field and force a field goal in this situation. Next up on Sunday, we've got the Chargers on 3rd and goal from the Broncos 8-yard line, also up 10-0, off a short motion, they run a mesh or spear concept, and they ultimately get all 5 guys out in the route. But Denver runs a twist inside, don't get lost in traffic on the back end, and get a strip sack on Justin Herbert, even if the Chargers ultimately jump back on top of the ball. So once again, Chargers come out in this condensed 2x2 set, putting like McConkey in motion and moving him inside of Quentin Johnston for what I'd refer to as a version of spear, because they don't at all try to create a rub inside with these 2 crossing routes like you'd see a mesh, with McConkey releasing behind Johnston and then working the backline of the end zone here towards the middle of the field again, the tight end or wing releasing late into the flats of a chip, and also the back hooking over the middle of the field after check releasing, which looks a little messy here, I understand that, sorry for that. The Broncos meanwhile showed a single high safety look, as if they're running cover 3, but it's actually a combo coverage We've got man on the Y and the Z here. The deep safety widens, and the boundary corner bails deep into a version of cover 2 basically. Plus they've got a TT twist called up on the inside, meaning the 2D tackles cross basically, where Zach Allen ends up coming free, plus Jonathan Cooper comes in to punch the ball out late here, out of Herbert's hands. Here it is from the end zone angle, so I can actually drop the twist action, you can really see what's going on. Where the free technique will hit that high swim move to cross the face of the guards and bump into the center, but it's the 2 technique Zach Allen, head up on the opposite guard, working this delayed loop around him. You'll see the back kind of run into him a little bit here, but his job is only to pick up a potential blitzer from the second level. So Allen evades that guy, Cooper retraces his steps, and then punches at the ball after attacking upfield. Ball out, Chargers jump back on top of it, but they hold him to 3 and keep this a 1-score game with an offense that couldn't really get anything done in the first half. Let's go to Steelers at Raiders. The home team actually up here 7-6 late in the second quarter. This is the only run play I brought to the table here, but it's one that really changed the complexity of this game. I'll show you quickly from the all-22 angle before I draw up the blocking scheme as we flip things around. As they're in 22 personnel, meaning 2 tight ends and 2 backs, in an I formation in this case. They bring rookie tight end Brock Bowers on a short motion to get outside of the wideout and escort the ball out to the perimeter on this toss split to the field, but the Steelers do a great job of chasing this down and getting the ball out. So here's what it actually looks like. The only wide receiver, number 83 here, is supposed to pin down TJ Watt, allowing the tight end and the play side tackle to pull outside of him, while the center climbs up to the second level and takes care of the backside linebacker. And otherwise it's fairly challenging reach blocks for the 2 guards here, plus the left tackle to a lesser degree on this 4I or 5 technique Cam Hayward. And of course we've got the fullback trying to find a crease and lead the way here, so he's going to be responsible for number 50, the play side backer. Not really much to draw for the defense here, as everybody's just responsible for the play side gap or the one they're already lined up in. Only that Watt here walked out pretty far, and the rest of the D-line, as their blockers are trying to win the play side shoulder on them, are supposed to work over the top of those blocks and float to the ball. So what I want you to pay attention to now is Watt making sure he doesn't surrender the outside shoulder, while also not giving up too big of a lane underneath him. The entire front working over the top of their blocks, and then the 2 linebackers, number 50 Landon Roberts, having to shoot down here and attacking the outside shoulder of the fullback, as well as Patrick Queen going underneath this block by the center trying to pin him inside, pushing off from the guard who might still get a piece of him here, as he and Watt sandwich the running back, punch the ball out, Steelers recover, and they score a touchdown next, after which they would never really surrender control of the game anymore, and would end up being a convincing 32-13 victory. I also felt like I needed to add in this run defense snap late in the game on 3rd and goal from the Pittsburgh 1-yard line at the start of the 4th quarter, where they get some penetration on the front side with Patrick Queen through the B gap, widening the runner to TJ Watt, who punches the ball loose once again. Watt actually earned a PFF run defense grade of 99.0, 2 fumbles forced, and this was recovered by safety Deshaun Elliott, setting them up to really take control here. Bringing us to number 3 as part of a really weird game between the Bucs and the Saints, where the home team somehow was up 28-24 after going down 17-0, only to lose by 24 points ultimately anyway. Horrific defensive performance from the Saints, by the way, and the Bucs allowed 5th-round rookie quarterback Spencer Rattler to look pretty good in the first half, but here's a moment shortly before halftime, with a chance for the Saints to extend their lead, but the Bucs are a step ahead of the young passer and the offensive play calling, as they sent this 5 in pressure with one of the DNs peeling off and getting home quickly, forcing an errant throw and nearly coming away with an interception here. So the Saints come on in trips to the right and motion the flanker all the way inside to change the numbers count for the defense and create potential confusion for what almost functions like a dagger concept with a wrap element, as the new number 3 now pushes up the seam, number 2 sits this down, and then you've got the deep in-break and route behind it, while the backside receiver simply runs off coverage here. The Bucs meanwhile in a classic 4-2 nickel look with 2 safeties high, and based on alignment of the nickel plus both the linebackers stacked up over the guards, you'd be safe to expect some kind of cover 2, cover 4, maybe cover 6. Yet what they'll do here is walk down this boundary safety Antoine Winfield Jr., and he's the guy who ultimately comes free as they bring 5. The Bucs are in an underfront, meaning the free technique is aligned into the boundary, but he's going to slant across the guard's face. The linebacker behind it, Lavonte David, is going to wrap around and crash through the inside shoulder of the back in protection, and the safety from depth is unaccounted for. Meanwhile, the opposite end, Yaya Diaby, number 0 here, drops out into a 3-3 fire zone, which is another small tendency breaker, as the guy on the opposite end of the line, number 9, Joe Tryon-Trinka, is the one that they regularly deploy in coverage. The pressure gets home quickly before Rattler can really decipher the new zone distribution, getting him a little rattled and forcing the ball to flutter as Zion McCollum nearly comes down with his second pick of the day. Check it out from the O-line and quarterback's perspective here. They call the big on big piece of this protection towards the free technique and slide the 3 other guys away from it, meaning it ultimately wastes 2 bodies out here as you got that 3-on-1 to the field, while Winfield gets through unblocked coming from depth here to get this hit on the quarterback, and even if it's not a turnover, it gets the defense off the field in a crucial spot. Second, I have the play I referenced in the beginning, which is more so an incredible individual effort by 49ers linebacker Fred Warner, going back one more time to the Thursday night matchup at Seattle on a 3rd and 3 early in the second quarter with San Francisco up 3-0. It's a basic 2x2 set. We've got switch releases by the wide receivers to either side, and Seattle gets 3 linemen out in front for a little running back screen by Kenneth Walker. Only Fred Warner sniffs this out and single-handedly destroys the play. Let's analyze it from the end zone angle. So once again, with the Niners being a straight up cover 3, all 5 defensive backs are occupied with what's happening on the outside, leaving these 2 linebackers as the only players with the ability to really stop this play, as they're in theory responsible for the 2 A-gaps here, with the D-line being in this wide 9 NASCAR package, but they're also supposed to gain width in the hook drops. The Seahawks want these D-ends to shoot up the field and ask their tackles to ride them further that way, whilst the 3 interior guys are supposed to let the D-tackle slip by, who actually both work inside in unison, and they are responsible for those 2 backers, and ultimately 1 lineman can continue to look for work here. I want you to check out number 54 here, whose eyes on the quarterback as he's shuffling outside. The explosiveness to redirect here, dip underneath the guard, and somehow kill this play by himself pretty much, because look, otherwise you've got the center on the backer here, you've got number 0 secured here, and the other guard could basically work up all the way to the deep safety, but nope, Warner Superman hammers Walker before he could even really turn up the field, and it's a massive stop on 3rd down. That's truly a one-of-a-kind player, and 1 out of 1 play to make in that situation, speaking of his incredible football IQ, instincts, and closing speed. But now let's get to number 1, and I don't think people expected the Patriots to be up here after they just gave up 41 points to the Texans at home on Sunday, but my brain is so coach-driven that I had to go with great all-around execution or one insane individual moment. The score is 14-0 Houston, already with about 10 minutes left in the first half, and they're back in the fringes of the red zone following an explosive run by Joe Mixon on his 2nd and 10. Texans come out in a 2x2 with the tight end to the field, and offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick, being a Kyle Shanahan disciple, uses that little bumper motion by the back here to get him out into a swing route, but they're trying to hit Dalton Schultz, sneaking past on this wheel route. Martin Mapo for the Patriots catches back up to it to put a hand in between the mids of the tight end, and Marcus Jones collects the interception in the end zone. So let's break down how we got here. So once again, that little bumper motion by the back to get him out there a little bit quicker. On the backside for Houston, it's basic double slants, while you've got the back working out into the flats on a swing route. You've got a drag by the flanker, and then the main thing to pay attention to here is Schultz widening on his release and then straightening up the numbers. The Patriots, I'm actually not 100% sure what they would call this, but they're in a combo coverage, or at least it plays out that way, as they're locking up those 2 outside receivers with the corners, and the linebacker to the field widens out with the running back, even though later on it kind of looks like he's playing the flats out here. But this nickel into the boundary, you'll see him communicate right away to pass this off to the linebacker inside, and you've got the safety patrolling the deep middle, meaning it basically looks like cover 3 to that side, while number 15 Martin Mapu doesn't seemingly treat this like a true man rep from the start, but he ends up turning and running with the tight end here. Kyle Duggar from the post has to step down against the slant, but that enables number 25 Marcus Jones now to keep falling off as he's basically replacing his teammate, and he comes all the way across. Mapu sticks his hand in there as he catches up, and Jones comes down with an awesome pick, plus a solid run back to set up his offense outside of his own 20-yard line already. We can see it from the quarterback's eyes to some degree here, who notices that post safety stepping down and telling him he can take that shot to Schultz, but great makeup burst by Mapu. And check out where Jones comes from to end up with that ball. Just outstanding team defense all the way around, as they were trying to slow down one of the game's elite quarterbacks. Absolutely love this. That brings us to the end of this video, however. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the analysis, please make sure to hit that thumbs up button for me, and click on subscribe if you haven't done so yet, but you'd like to see more stuff like this. I did these shorter breakdowns of the top plays each of the past 2 weeks, first with the quarterbacks and now defensive plays. Let me know if you want more of them, or if there's a topic you'd like me to do a deep dive on, or just what you thought of the video in general down in the comments. This is actually one of the very few times I don't really know what I've got going on next week. It'll be something in written form or on my site, helloswithfootballtalk.com, before I make another video. And then what I do know is that I'll be putting together a mid-season NFL awards piece following week 9. So I'm open to suggestions, but we'll of course make things dependent on things we may see, maybe a couple of big trades, a team truly collapsing, and firing the coach, whatever's most interesting. In the meantime, you can head over to my social media channels for some other stuff I'm posting, clips I stumble upon as I go through the tape, betting picks, thoughts on things happening around the sport, and I'm always happy to engage on those topics with you guys. So until then, see you later. Peace!